It's always disappointing when your watercolor landscape turns out flat and a bit boring, but I've got 7 fixes that are going to take your next watercolor painting from flat to fabulous. Let's take a look. Skies are blue, of course, but if you look closely, there's actually a little bit more nuance to it. It's not the same color blue all the way down, and there's usually a little bit more warmth towards the horizon. That change in color temperature to put something a little bit warmer by the horizon is very effective at giving us a little bit more depth in the sky. I could have chosen to do something in the sort of gold family here, particularly because I'm going to paint these marshy grasses, but I decided to start with a little bit of pink, because sometimes you've got to add things to your painting just because they please you. I've chosen a lavender blue to put in the top of the painting, and I'm going to slowly fade that out so that it meets the soft transition of the pink that I popped in earlier. So that's the first fix. Don't forget the change in colour temperature and to give some variety to the values. Now let's think about the bottom edge of this painting. It's water down here, and the water is going to be the lightest part of this particular painting, but you do want a nice dark lead in. We want the foreground, which in this case is not ground but water, we want that to have a bit of darkness. So I'm putting in a nice dark indigo around the base and the bottom corners, which is quite effective at leading us into the painting, drawing us in, and the water will get lighter and lighter into the distance. So that's fix number 2, to use a nice dark lead in the foreground and let that help draw our eye through the landscape towards the horizon. The next thing I want to do is to pop in those mountains. Now you do have to wait for the sky to be perfectly dry, because of course if you don't and you pop in your mountains when the sky is still damp, the mountains and sky are just going to blend together. It's the magic of watercolor, but also the frustration. But it's okay, we're smart enough to know that if we just let that sky dry, we'll be able to put in our mountains without any of those problems. Now, the color we choose for the mountains is also going to help us convey that sense of distance. You'll notice that mountains always look blue in the distance. So that's our third fix, is to make sure that we use lovely cool tones for things like distant mountains to push them further back in the image. It's actually a really interesting thing about the way light travels and the way our eyeballs process it mean that everything that's far away from us takes on a far more bluish cast. So when you're painting distant mountains, you want them to be the most blue and the most pale. That's going to make them seem further away. The mountains that are closer to us can be darker. That's tip 4, to make sure that the most distant mountain is the palest and the ones in front of that can get darker. So in a painting like this, we can build those mountains up in little layers. Of course, being careful that it's dry enough in our first layer that we can put a slightly darker layer on top. Don't forget, one of the other wonderful things about watercolor is that it's transparent. So your top layer is going to let the bottom layers show through, and that means it's an easy way to kind of build up color if you're painting something like layers of mountains on top of one another. I've started popping in a little bit of the color in the grasses and vegetation in this sort of middle ground here. It's always very exciting when you pop in something like the bright gold that sits so well against the pale blues here. But you can see I'm really not trying to paint anything in too much detail. This is the sort of thing I love to do with watercolor, where you just let the watercolor do so much of the suggesting of the texture. So I'm going to use wet and wet techniques and really let those colors blend together as they see fit. I'm also softening off the bottom edge because I know that I can see some of the reflection of these grasses in the edge of the water. So I do want some of that colour to spill out into the water. The other thing I want to do is add a few different colours. I'm taking some of my inspiration from the photo, but it's also the sort of thing where you can just put in the colours that speak to you. I want the gold grasses because I love that colour combination. It's one of the things that appealed to me about this particular image. But I also want to break up that big section of gold there, and I'm dropping in my green color using this wet into wet technique, which means that there's not going to be hard edges. This is quite purposeful because this is getting us to my next tip, which is about choosing your level of detail and letting that also help you convey the idea of how far away some of these things are. This little clump of marsh grasses is much further away from us than the ones that I'm going to put in on the right hand side. So I do want to make sure that it looks a lot softer. When I say softer, I mean there aren't going to be hard edges. I don't want to be trying to draw too many grasses. I really just want soft blends of color. And you'll see this kind of evolves over time as the paint dries. It's one of the other wonderful things about painting in watercolor is the painting process is so delightful. Oh, I'm just popping in a bit of pink there because I put it in the sky and I like to make sure that I wouldn't just put a color in one place. And it's as good a color as any to add some variety to my grasses. So this is tip number 5, to use less detail for objects that are further away from us. So that usually means a few more wet on wet techniques. Let's do something about those grasses on the right hand side. I'm going to use the same sort of colours that I've put into the left section. But as I come towards the foreground here, I want to be thinking a little bit more about showing a few more details. By that I mean I don't want quite so much of the soft edges that I've got on the left-hand side. I want to paint a little bit more on dry paper so that I can see a few more of my brush marks, because I'm using my brush to kind of flick up and create suggestions of the grass. I never paint anything in great detail, but I do like to try and give the suggestion and the feeling of these grasses sticking up from the water. So this must be tip number 6 that we're up to, isn't it? That if you want to suggest something, an object that is closer to you, you want to use a little bit more detail. So a higher level of detail will bring objects closer towards the viewer, and a low level detail, as we said in the previous tip, is going to push them further back. At this point, the grasses are pretty much done, but they do have this sort of look as though they're floating, and that's because we haven't put any of the darks. It's true that those grasses are the sort of the golds and browns that I've got there, but what you can really see is a lot of the dark shadows that are in between the grasses where the light is not getting down at all. And it's these shadows that really ground your object into whatever it's sitting in this case the water. So it's really important to get those darks in, and painting the shadows is often one of my favorite parts of the painting. No matter what you're painting, we're always looking for the light and shadow. So it's when you can pop in the darks that you really feel your painting start to come to life. So this is tip number 7. Don't forget the lovely dark shadows that really ground the objects into the scene, because that also places them in the scene, gives them a sense of dimension, and gives you a bit more of a sense of depth and less flatness, which is what we're all about today, isn't it? Are you worried that I've forgotten that mountain in the distance? I haven't, of course I haven't. It's going to be quite fun to put in because it's also another one of the dark parts of the painting. And I always find it is putting in the punchy darks that really brings the painting to life. So let's do something about that. This is one of the closer mountains, so we know what to do now, don't we? We're going to use darker colours, and I want to make sure I put in some good variety in there. So I'm going to use my indigo that I put in the water to add some darker bits of green. And if I add the indigo while I've got the other marks still damp, I'll get those lovely soft blends again, which is exactly what we want. You can see again, it's distant, so I'm not trying to paint trees in any particular level of detail. I just want some variety in the color here. But if you're painting landscapes, you probably will want to paint trees at some point. They are fantastic as focal points in the landscape, but they can be a little bit of a tricky thing to paint. unless you've got a way of painting them on easy mode. And would you know, I have a video all about that. So I'm going to pop that on the screen in case you want to see how to paint trees the easy way next. Happy painting!